Hey peoples, this is another movie review of the movie Beats on Netflix. And like always, before I continue on, I want to say thank you for listening. It really means a lot to me. But let's get to the movie. So the plot of the movie takes place in Chicago, and August is a teenager. He's the main character. One night, August goes through a traumatic experience where he loses someone close to him due to gun violence. And it really affects him negatively, mentally, emotionally. And from that day on, he has become a homebody. He only stays in the house. He does not go out. He does not explore. He does not go to school. His mom takes all of his work to the school for him. So all day, all he does is sit at home. He does his homework, and then he makes beats. Our other main character is Romelio. Romelio is a school security guard. So the principal gives Romelio the task of going out and getting kids that have not been to school, because the school needs kids in the actual school for budgetary reasons. Each kid is like a couple $1,000s, I guess, of money from the government to the school to keep the school open and to pay people's salaries and so on and so forth. So Romelio goes out and he sets forth and tries to find different students on a list and tries to get them back to school. One of the students he comes in contact with is August. And while he's over August's house, he hears August making beats. Then we find out that this security guard used to be a producer. He wants to produce August and get him in the industry and blow back up to fame, which the security guard Romelio used to be at, and he has fallen from grace. And that's our movie. So my favorite part about the movie is the dialogue. If you've listened to any of my reviews, you know that dialogue is really big to me. It's the script, it's the thing that sucks me in because it's the communication between characters. That's what makes it feel real. And this movie feels so real, like you stepped into this world of Chicago, which is pretty much it sucks and Chicago and people getting shot and people in gangs and trying to survive and stuff like that. That was my favorite part of the movie. Also, everyone pretty much does a great job at the acting portion of the movie, which is really great, except maybe a couple deliveries, but that's more on the negative side, so I'll link to that in a bit. The music, which has to be, of course, very important in this movie, is pretty good. I will say, personally, I think these beats are better than the ones that I heard in Straight Outta Compton. The best thing about this movie, besides the dialogue, has to do with the post-traumatic stress that the main character goes through, and it's probably the best representation I've seen of it in a movie because it feels so real and you feel depressed, you feel emotional every time you see him, and he goes through these panic attacks because he can't face the outside world or he can't interact with other people, especially strangers that he does not know. It really gets to you. You feel for the character and you just want them to be better. You want them to be safe. You want to go hug them. You want to jump in the movie and say, "It'll be okay, fella." So I thought that was handled really amazingly. And also other subject matter placed in the movie. Example would be the violence in Chicago and people trying to survive, and the fact that these kids aren't going to school because their parents are scared that they might not make it, they might not come home, and even August's mother is scared for him to go outside. This is a real situation. Kids really go through this, and it's just sad to see, but I like that this movie brought light to that situation. So that's pretty much my positives, and moving on to the negatives. First thing I noticed was that I assume budgetary reasons. The lighting in this movie wasn't the best. Some of the natural light just was blinding. Also, I wasn't the biggest fan of all of the directing decisions. A lot of the shots have blurry backgrounds. I want to feel like I'm actually in the room, like I can actually touch things, not that it's a blurry mess behind someone. It's very distracting. I don't know why you would do that. Also, I have to mention the editing as well. Sometimes it is annoying. For instance, when the main character August is making beats, the camera cuts around a bunch of times as if it's bored. I guess they do it for stylistic choice. It feels like a music video, but it's very distracting. I don't know why you would do that. Just sit the camera in one spot, let us see him make beats and feel the music and actually be an artist instead of jumping around like we're in a music video. It's very annoying. And to continue along with the editing choices, not every scene shown on screen seems to have a point. For instance, the principal sends Romelio, the security guard, out to find these kids. But then we have shots of him back at school during security guard stuff and then back on the streets. Why do it that way instead of having a continuous sequence of him out in the streets trying to find the kids? It wasn't like he was back at school telling her and updating her what was going on. He was back in his security guard spot checking kids into the actual building. It wasn't like he found the kids and he was like, "Oh, I found some more." No, then they show him back on the streets trying to find more kids. Just keep him on the streets. Just show us that only. Don't jump back and forth for no apparent reason. If you're going to show us a location, let it be for a purpose, not just to be like, "Oh, look, remember, in case you forgot, this person's a security guard." Another negative I hinted at earlier was I did like the dialogue, but I didn't believe all of it when it came to the emotional points. Really only when people got angry. There were two specific points which felt like they were ramped up and wasn't as serious as the person who was upset made it seem. And it was just like, why? It just felt fake. I didn't believe it. I didn't like it. It just seemed pointless. And my final nitpick is that I really don't like the ending. It does a jump cut of time. I hate those. I hate when you're like 5 weeks later, 11 weeks later, a year later. I hate that. It feels like you didn't know how to wrap up your movie correctly. So you're like, we're just gonna jump time and just show everyone that everything turned out okay. I hate those. And it felt like the movie was wrapping up really fast at the end, and then they do a jump cut anyway, and you kind of don't get an answer to certain questions. Like, they show August as a character doing something, but you don't get a full sense of where he is in his life and what's going on, and that's kind of disappointing. I will say this is worth a watch though. It is enjoyable enough. I did like it for the most part. It was just a couple of nitpicks in there that were bothersome. Oh, and I forgot. Remember earlier when I said it seemed like you could step into the world and it actually felt real? Well, that kind of goes away as the movie continues. Near the end of it, or I guess mid to near the end, it felt more like I was watching Empire on Fox. Like, it felt too polished or too, I can't explain it. Just as an overall example, like I just used Empire. It seemed like the ending was Empire and the beginning was the movie Dope. If you haven't seen the movie Dope, that movie feels very authentic. You feel like it's a real world that people are living in. So from Dope to Empire, that's how the movie runs. And I wish it would have stayed like Dope from the beginning. If that makes any sense, if you've seen Dope. If you haven't, go watch Dope. If you haven't watched Empire, you're fine. But moving on, that's how I feel about the movie. Yes, you should check it out. I don't think it's amazing, but it's pretty okay. And that's it. If you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, go to iTunes or YouTube and thumbs this up or like it or subscribe or whatever. I have no idea. Do things to share the show, please. That would be very nice and I would really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day. God bless. Talk to you tomorrow.